Xabi Alonso started his Chelsea job on July the 1st, and here are 3 massive problems that he needs to fix right now. Let me show you what he's walking into. First problem is a total lack of elite experience and leadership. And honestly, this one starts right at the top, with the philosophy baked into how this squad was built in the first place. The sporting directors came in with what looked on paper like a smart idea: buy young, buy cheap, develop and sell at a peak value, or just improve the first team if they can. Chelsea broke the all-time Premier League record for the youngest starting 11 across a single campaign, averaging just 24 years and 36 days per starting lineup. The theory was simple: emulate the Brighton model, build a squad with upward trajectory and generate profit while competing. Everyone's happy. But the problem is, Chelsea are not Brighton. Brighton are a selling club and are proud of it, but Chelsea is a club where expectation is silverware, winning at all costs, full stop. And the core idea that a group of players of a similar age automatically have better chemistry because they can relate to each other, that's one of their reasons for building such a young squad. But it's pretty obvious that argument falls apart the second you look at what experience actually does to any team, not just a football team. For example, when Thiago Silva was at this club very recently, players around him genuinely grew in multiple different caveats. Trevor Chalobah, a defender who under Silva's presence went from a fringe player really to somebody who looked like he genuinely belonged at this level. And we know Thiago Silva arrived on a free transfer, and his leadership impact still to this day is incalculable. In the period following his departure, Chelsea's defensive structure visibly collapsed. They finished 10th with 14 league losses last season, the second worst points tally in the entire Clear Lake era, which is mental that it's not even the worst. And don't get me wrong, the argument that older players are overpriced has some merit in certain cases. I like the fact they don't want to overpay for players, but I just think they're too stubborn. By reducing the value of a seasoned professional to only what they fetch on a transfer fee going out, completely ignores the intangibles, the jokes in their dressing room, arm around a young player's shoulder after a mistake, a calming voice when the game is falling apart, or the complete opposite, total motivation in the moments you need it. And the sporting directors, and I'll say this directly, have zero background in playing football at a decent level themselves. And it shows because they have priced the intangibles at zero. Now, as we know, Liam Rosenior was brought in as the most recent head coach of this era. And in fairness, he did inherit a pretty difficult situation: a bloated, directionless squad, a dressing room in disarray, and a weight of a club that had already burnt through multiple managers before he'd even arrived. But one thing that stuck out publicly was how he chose to frame the youth-heavy squad he was working with. It kind of came across that he was just grateful to be in a position. He couldn't turn down a Chelsea job so early in his career, and it did seem like he was just a puppet for the hierarchy at Chelsea. And he said, I'm reading this word for word, "The beautiful thing about working with a young group is they're fearless. They've had no negative experience, so they don't go, for example, to PSG away going, cool, I remember I came here 3 years ago, we got beat 5-0. And I understand the intention behind that framing, but at the elite level, where Chelsea Football Club, where professional footballers are found, fearlessness born from inexperience is just another word for naivety. People with the best mentalities in the world are not fearless because they don't know what the failure feels like, because they're relentless and desperate to put it right. They want to bounce back and improve better than they did last time rather than sheepishly walk away. So I think you need a bit of pain and scar tissue to bring together a dressing room to then beat it again in the next time. You can't replicate that with just youth alone. And here's where it gets truly damning. Chelsea accumulated an all-time Premier League record of 100 yellow cards in a single season, including 11 from Moises Caicedo and 10 for Enzo Fernandez. 101 yellow cards in one season. Our team had no emotional regulation, no one on the pitch stepping up to calm things down when games turned hostile, and no leader grabbing an actual teammate by the shirt and saying, get your head right. And that brings us to Xabi Alonso. As a player, he won the World Cup, 2 European Championships and the Champions League twice. And then as a manager, he took Bayer Leverkusen through the most extraordinary unbeaten run in modern European football. That is elite experience personified. The single most important thing Alonso does in his first week is walk into the training ground and command respect, but without saying a word about tactics. And the way he fixes problem 1 feeds directly into the second problem, which involves some of the most structurally complicated squad management decisions in the Premier League history. The second problem is our bloated squad, damaged morale, and a breakdown in the actual human connection of players. And it runs deeper than most people realise. The sporting directors haven't just built an oversized squad. They've effectively been playing football manager with real human beings. The squad has averaged 30 or more registered players per season since the takeover, cycling through arrivals and departures, a rate so chaotic that dressing room bonds simply cannot form. Especially to a young player. Imagine you arrive, you're trying to settle, you're building friendships, and then half the squad gets shipped out on loan or sold the next summer and you start again. Just off the top of my memory, I remember Diego Moreira was pretty baked in to what it seemed like from the outside to the core Chelsea chemistry. He seemed like a popular guy, a fun guy to be around. And then he's gone within a year pretty much. He went on a loan to Lyon, he went to Strasbourg and then sold. It just, the connections on and off the pitch that make a team tick have never been properly built. And then there's the long-term contracts that have been handed out during the era. The deals are structured around performance incentives rather than a flat guaranteed wage across the full length. So the financial logic is more nuanced than simply handing a player a blank check until 2033. But there is a football problem, a problem that I think the contracts create for players like Mudryk or Disasi, people that Chelsea just need to get rid of. The finances attached to the contracts are pretty significant and so long running. You've locked them in for a long time that finding a buying club to match what Chelsea then value the players at becomes that very difficult. You end up with bomb squads and you're not allowed to have bomb squads anymore, so I don't even know how they're going to manage that. Players who don't contribute to what the manager's building and wants them to invest in and then can't get moved on because of the economics. Like the Raheem Sterling situation was dire, not Eric. And the squad management nightmare that has been badly handled lands directly on Alonso's desk from day one. And the funny thing is that there are good finances involved. The people who design a model are pretty brilliant, you could say, on the financial side of the football. The loopholes that people have found are doing their job well, but a football team does not run on financial models. There has to be a level of trust, familiarity, knowing where your teammate's going to be, real bonds. And that all takes time, stability, and a manager who makes the players feel valued enough to give everything. Which again brings us to Rosenior. What the players lacked from the outside, again looking in, under Rosenior's 100-day reign, was a lack of clarity. Like they just looked like they didn't know what Rosenior wanted them to do. So there was complexity without confidence, and the result was just a paralysed squad on the pitch, unsure of pretty much every decision. And the contrast to Xabi Alonso is mad. As we mentioned, Alonso orchestrated a 51-game run without defeat in the 23-tour season. And that wasn't just built on pure talent. He didn't make too many transfers in when he took over that squad that were, I think, near the relegation zone. There was a real clarity. The players knew exactly what Xabi wanted them to do and real belief in each other. There was a lot of late goals, which at that point isn't just luck or things going your way. The amount of late goals were absurd. The fact that just comes from believing in your teammates and yourself to score before the game's done. For example, Alejandro Grimaldo was signed on a free transfer and handed complete freedom in Alonso's structure from the left wing back position. He produced 10 goals and 13 assists, which was a league high assist return for a defender. Florian Wirtz, who came back from a career-threatening ACL injury, given simple, clear guidance by Alonso, just to be yourself in the left 10 role, returned 11 goals and 11 assists in the Bundesliga alone. So Alonso's clearly giving these players confidence and clarity, not to mention the likes of Arda Güler, Tchouaméni really talking highly of Alonso in his Real Madrid time. Now you map it to the Chelsea squad. Cole Palmer had a genuinely brilliant 23-tour season. 24-25, 25-20 have been tailing off more and more, to the point where he lost his England place. Well, I don't think it's a Cole Palmer problem. Maybe there's injuries, maybe lack of confidence. I think it's a system problem. He thrived under Pochettino because of the football we were playing. And a player of his talent needs the right structure around him to thrive. And I think Alonso will get the best out of him. I think Alonso walks in, strips away the overcomplications, and just gives the players absolute certainty of what is being asked of them. A team that believes in the system will always outperform a collection of talented individuals guessing. And the players who can't fit into the system just need to be moved on quickly, cleanly, before there's any more negativity poisoning the environment Alonso's going to try and create. Which brings us to the third problem, because fixing the squad and fixing the culture means nothing. There is no tactical identity holding it all together. The third problem is Chelsea's complete and utter tactical identity crisis. 4 seasons, 5 head coaches, 0 lasting identity. Let's walk through the tactical timeline because it does get pretty mad. We start with Thomas Tuchel. The last time this club had a real tactical identity before the Clear Lake Capital boys came to our club. He had a 3-4-2-1 system with the solid back three, the fluid wing backs, deep midfield, narrow dual 10s. It was absolutely suffocating to play against. Like Tuchel said, no team wanted to play against it. In 12 European matches during the Champions League winning campaign, Tuchel's Chelsea conceded just 4 goals, or using the rigid 3-4-3 shape. Then, as we know, Graham Potter came in because that's who Clear Lake wanted to control at Chelsea. There was no identity looking back, no clear system, just a series of experiments that went nowhere and left the squad pretty confused. Then Mauricio Pochettino, possession dropped to a chaotic, transition-heavy 55%, effectively abandoning the midfield structure and drifting towards a more direct, disorganised style that had no real repeatable pattern aside from passing to Cole Palmer and praying. He was one of the best players in the world that season, but I think he did cover some cracks. And Pochettino was never going to be Chelsea's long-term manager. I do want to go on a deep dive on why we appointed Pochettino. It was a weird one. Then Enzo Maresca, complete swing in the opposite direction, with Chelsea averaging 62% possession, playing slow, rigid, over-mechanised passing patterns that often just drained the life out of the attack. And then came Rosenior, who inherited a pretty bad mess, still with very talented players though, and didn't really get any time or tools or squad cohesion to impose any kind of identity at all. Chelsea went on a 5-game Premier League losing streak under Rosenior, in which they scored exactly 0 goals. The club's worst goal-scoring drought since 1912. At this point, the question stopped being what system are Chelsea playing to what are Chelsea playing football, what sport are Chelsea playing? And Rosenior's own public framing of his coaching philosophy tells you everything about where the tactical culture ended up. He said coaching and management is 90% people skills, it's 10% football. Now, yeah, human connection doesn't matter enormously. We covered that in the last chapter. But when your squad is directionless and your results are falling off a cliff, that is not the message that fans or the players want to hear from you, mate. But the last 2 real tactical identities that are in my mind, at least anyway, are very similar to what we could see next season. Antonio Conte arrived at this club in 2016-2017, a decade ago, with 0 European football, a squad in pretty transition, and a back 3 and a dream. He implemented that 3-4-3, won the league title at a canter, and turned uncertainty into a machine. And then, yeah, Tuchel came in, again with a back 3 and a dream, and won the Champions League. And the parallel to right now is striking. It's not a coincidence, because Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen also operated in a 3-4-2-1 fluid structure, but it was aggressive, vertical, and built on the elite rest defence and a relentless gegenpressing structure. That team registered a staggering 65+ goal difference in that Bundesliga campaign, 89 goals scored and just 24 conceded, the best defensive record in that entire division. They conceded very little on the counter despite a very high line as well. That is the opposite of Maresca's possession for possession's sake football. It's also the opposite of Pochettino's chaos ball. It is a direct, structured and exciting idea that I'm pretty confident will work. And here is the critical point on authority. Every single person in charge of tactics, match days at this club, since the Clearlake took over, have been given the title of head coach. Obviously, didn't see where I was going with that. Not manager. And that distinction matters enormously because a head coach will operate inside a structure defined by the sporting directors above them, Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, who influence the tactical profile, the recruitment profile, and to some extent the stylistic direction of the club, the style of football they want to play. They make the decisions on who's coming in as a manager. But in an official statement from April 2026, after Rosenior was sacked, the board publicly admitted, quote, "As the club works to bring stability to the head coach position, we will undertake a process of self-reflection to make the right long-term appointment." That is a boardroom acknowledgement of their failures. And the appointment of Xabi Alonso as manager, not head coach, manager, means that the sporting directors have officially stepped back and granted the actual elite tactician, the one with the coaching badges and degrees in that field, the actual authority that they need. He's not going to play a slow possession football to satisfy the boardroom preference. He's not going to bend his system to fit in players who don't suit the system. He's going to build a tactical culture from day one and make it clear enough so that the young players in the squad understand it immediately. The players need to know what they're going to do with the ball. Are we going wide? Are we going infield? Are we playing it long? And the fans need to recognise the system within the first 15 minutes of a match. That gets the fans invested in the game and not on the manager and players' back so much. Chelsea's tactical identity has been missing for 4 years and Xabi Alonso is here to bring it back. So those are the 3 massive problems Xabi Alonso has to fix, in my opinion: the leadership vacuum, the broken squad morale, and the complete lack of a tactical identity. And I'm going to be honest, it's not going to be instant. It took 4 chaotic years of difficult decisions, revolving doors, and structural experimentation to create the situation that we are in. And it will almost certainly going to take more than a full season to just completely straighten it out again. But here is what we have not had in a very long time at this club: a genuine long-term plan with a genuine elite mind at the centre of it, who will actually be given the time to execute. We were close with Maresca, but with his eyes looking towards the Etihad Stadium up north, that was completely unforeseen and ended in a mess. But I think we might have just hit gold despite that. The sporting directors, they have to completely commit to Xabi Alonso as their big gamble. They did do a pretty good job of getting him in. The right transfers made with Alonso rather than for him, working alongside them as genuine equals rather than obstacles. That's the formula that gets Chelsea back to where this club belongs. The Conte parallel is real, the Tuchel parallel is real. For the first time in a while, I'm pretty excited to be a Chelsea fan again. So if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this one too. Click here and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.